Move over, Gordon Ramsay. We have the best chef in the world come into our studio every single Tuesday, and we do a different Korean dish or ingredient, tell you all about it. Chef Ryan's in the studio, head chef of #DailyK. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you, man?
I'm good indeedy. Are you a fan of Gordon Ramsay, by the way?
I liked his really old school shows, the Kitchen Nightmares back in the UK.
Yeah.
That is so cool to go in and like, because I do some restaurant consulting, and if you go in and you look at all these things that they're doing wrong and try to help them, that stuff was awesome. These days, not so. It's all so sensationalized.
Yeah, just as much swearing and anger as he can fit into like 60 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a mad respect for the guy, of course, but as far as what he's been doing in the last few years, it's I've lost a little bit of interest.
Yeah, we've got to remember though that he is a very talented chef, isn't he? At the end of the day,
and he's paid his dues, so he deserves to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, working his way up. He was going to be a professional footballer as well.
Right, I heard that, but
he
got
injured his knee or something. So he's a very talented guy. But I saw a video of him the other day on social media, just popped up on my timeline, and he was showing his students how to get all the meat out of a lobster, and it was amazing. He got it out of even the thin little legs. He'd get all the meat out there,
waste not, whatnot,
and then he'd do it in like a minute or two, and then he'd lay out the meat of the lobster to look like the lobster in the shell.
I've seen that. Yeah.
It looks amazing. He's a talented guy. Anyway, you are way more talented. That's what I want to say. And I bet Gordon Ramsay doesit's know anything about haejanguk.
Probably not.
Although, having said that, he recently did that beer commercial.
I
so who
saw
knows?
that, and I just kind of cringed, but it was funny.
He made his money from that. It was funny. They used his character well. So haejanguk, hangover soup, is what we're talking about today. It can be a bit of a weird concept for many Westerners to have a soup when you're hungover, right?
Yeah, well, in the States, yeah, sure, because we usually go for like greasy food, hamburgers, burritos, things like that.
Pizza.
Yeah, right. But down in Mexico, they have things a lot like what we have today.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities, it seems, between Mexico
and in the Philippines as well, and in Portugal and Spain, they've got these hangover soups.
Wow, I didn't know that. So it's not unique to Korea, but the specific dishes are, right? The ones that we're going to talk about.
I'm hooked, man. If I am, which is not as much as when I was a bit younger, but if I am hungover ever, I really want a soup. It really works better than like a pizza or something like that.
Yeah, I'm still split 50-50. Sometimes I want the soup, sometimes I want the pizza. Like sometimes I feel like the pizza or the burger soaks up the excess alcohol lingering in your stomach.
Right,
I don't know, that's just psychological maybe. But sometimes you're right, the soup, because it's hot as well, it kind of settles your stomach.
Can get you sweating a little bit, which cleanses you a little bit.
You feel like you're doing a good job for your body. So that's what we're talking about today. And you're a fan of haejanguk.
Big fan, and it's important to say, I think, that there are how many haejangguks in Korea?
I know, how many are there?
It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I think there must be around 20 different varieties.
Sure, that you can commonly find on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, Mexico, you've got the white menudo and you got the red menudo.
Oh.
You might have birria consomme, which is like a lamb stew. That's awesome for hangovers.
Really?
But that's I can't really think of too many others than that. I'm sure somebody will correct me, but here you've got the most common one, pyo haejanguk. Okay,
with
the pork spine bones in there, and it's red and spicy. That's the most common one. That's one you see all the time.
That's my favorite by far and away. Sometimes they have some like ugoji in there.
That's one of my favorites. That has all that shiregi or ugoji, the dried like cabbage leaves or the dried radish tops.
Yeah. They taste so good.
Man, it really is good for you, and it doesn't have all the meat in it. But yeah, I mean, I always felt so much better after having something like that.
You feel much more healthy, don't you, eating all those leaves? You may think, oh, that doesn't sound very nice, the radish tops, but once they've been in that soup, like boiling and bubbly, they get all moist, and the texture's amazing.
It's awesome, yeah, it really is, because they're dried and then reconstituted in the soup.
Yeah, one thing that put me off, just a side note, I saw a restaurant the other day drying their radish tops out back, and I was just driving past, and they were also drying like their dirty towels next to them, and I was like, I'm never going to that restaurant again. If you see out back of some kitchens, you'll be, I guess, shocked in some cases. But anyway, so what have we brought today? Is it Bya Hajanguk, my favourite, Ryan?
I'm sorry, I had to. I brought my favorite.
What is your favourite?
Well, this is like the Korean menu, though. Really, this is full of hanu, the Korean awesome beef.
Yeah.
Innards. Naejang translates. I guess the best way to translate would be as innards. It doesn't necessarily mean just like tripe or stomach, but also could be intestines and different things like that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember you mentioned that at the end of the last show, and I thought, no, he's not going to bring that in. But he has. So we've got the camera in the studio. We're going to get a close-up of this. So can we show our listeners exactly what this looks like? See, it looks quite tame when you don't like take the things out that are inside it. It looks almost just like a normal beef soup that you get here, right? But this is known as daejangtang.
Right. And there's 2 different kinds. Well, there's probably 5 different kinds, actually. This one is the white style one. And man, there's like one of the places that I've gone to, they've said that they'll have like 7 different kinds of naejang.
Oh, really?
In here.
The different parts of the innards.
And man, I really gotta say that it's pretty awesome.
So I like the soup of this, but do you like the texture of the innards? Because it's in many cases, very chewy, isn't it?
Not if it's done well. Okay, some of the pieces are chewier than others. Okay, there is one that's like that's really tripe, and it kind of looks like shag carpet. You know?
Yes, that they sometimes serve as a side dish at places as well.
Right. And that's not my favorite, you know, because it is really chewy. It doesn't really have a nice flavor of its own.
And aesthetically,
it's almost just like a filler.
It looks weird, doesn't it? You're right. It looks like a carpet.
It looks like gray and black shag carpeting. But when you get these white pieces right here, and I'll show you the one that's really my favorite. Okay. This. Is just parts of stomach.
The stomach like lining, I suppose. Really, and is that good?
It's so good. So see if you can find one of these pieces. Okay. I'm gonna get you here. But
all right.
I really think I might change your mind on this one today.
And I think I've got one. Is that one? A white bit?
No, sir. Try again.
My goodness.
I could give you one of mine. I haven't taken a bite with these chopsticks yet.
That looks a bit like. Is that the yang? Is that yang is the stomach, right?
There you go. Well, there's 4 stomachs in a cow, so they're all very different. There's honeycomb tribe. There's
So this is the part that you like.
Well, it's not the exact one, but that one's really good too. So just this sauce is like soy and a little bit of vinegar and some capsicum oil. It's not super spicy.
All right.
But just get a little bit of that sauce.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna like it.
Not too chewy, leathery, or anything like that.
It has kind of a little pop, almost like squid when it's cooked properly.
Tastes really good. Amazing, Ryan. You've changed my mind already after one piece.
Hallelujah.
But if I do get that carpet, maybe I'll change my mind again.
There's no carpet in this one. I left that out.
Oh, you serious? Thank you so much. And then the other bits are just random bits of innards. And you may not know exactly what you're eating, but the soup itself tastes delicious because it's kind of just like a beef-based soup, right? The flavour. It doesn't taste too different. And you usually have this with a bowl of steaming rice,
Absolutely, yeah.
What are these other little bits over here? Is that the chili powder?
Well, if you like to kick it up, this is choyangochu that's chopped up, the spicier Korean chili.
That you can put in the soup directly?
In the soup, I often put it in the sauce. And then just dip that way. This is just red pepper powder mixed with a little bit of red pepper oil. But it's a nice one.
This is really good. These innards. I think I like naejangtang, but I still do like the Bya Hajanguk, the bone one.
Yeah.
Because then you're getting like the proper meat off the bone. Some people suck out the inside of the spine as well.
Man, it's when I go,
messy, isn't it?
When I go, I don't leave anything. I'm pulling those things apart and getting chewing the like cartilage off the ends too. I mean,
So the soup as well is delicious. It tastes a little bit like a not quite. Yeah, like a kalbitang in between that and a solongtang. So like the solongtang is where they boil the bones for like 24 hours or something, and it gets really milky. So it's not quite that thickness, but it's not as thin as a kalbitang, which is really a clear soup as well. It's right in between. Yeah, I can see how this would be good after you've had too many drinks the night before. Certainly, you do have to chew some of these bits quite a while in your mouth.
A little weirder,
but it's nice. It's nice, and if you don't think about what you're eating, if you're a bit squeamish about that, then it does just taste like maybe a fattier bit of beef or something like that. And yeah, I'm on board with this 내장탕. I've never had it after a hangover, but I can see how the warmness and the meatiness would settle your stomach, right?
Well, it's actually kind of expensive, these things.
How much is a portion of this?
10 mangwon.
$10,000, so about $10, right?
The Pyohe Jangguk is only like 6 or maybe 7.
Yeah.
Sometimes 5.
Yeah, you're right. It can be cheaper. This is more pricey. Wow, I didn't know that.
Because the innards are, they have to be so fresh. They have to be, and it's all local.
Yeah.
They don't import a lot of these kind of things here.
Sure. So you're paying a bit of a premium, but it
tastes
tastes
delicious. In the States,
delicious.
we don't do anything with these. It's such a shame.
It is, isn't it? I guess a lot of it goes into maybe pet foods and things like that,
probably,
right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Korea, a lot of them are prized. And one of my favorite dishes is having the yang, which is one of the stomachs, the meaty kind of one. It kind of has the texture of a tongue, I imagine, but on the grill. I really like that. There's one place in Daechidong, which is quite close to the studio. They put it in a little like spicy marinade.
Oh, okay. So this isn't that foreign for you. If you like that.
Yeah. But
okay.
I never really liked it in a soup because I couldn't really see what's going on in there, and I'd like find hidden things. Sometimes don't they
Did
have
someone trick you as a child and feed you things and lie to you?
I think so, yeah. My mum to try and get me to eat vegetables. So this is what we're talking about today. Let us know in your country, what do you eat after a big night of drinking as a hangover cure? Is it something soup-based or something really carbohydrate-y? We'll be back after the song break. We'll let you know how to make this as well, just a rough kind of recipe after a song. Let's play some Everbloom. This is Drink Up. We are back for part 2 of Yes Chef. After all that pouring up and drinking up from Everbloom, we are going to have a hangover and then we'll need this soup. And Ryan, it is very rare that someone cooks this at home, right? Especially if you're hungover, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because of the ingredients, When you're going to make something out of innards, it's important that they're incredibly clean and really fresh.
Okay, that's the key to it, right?
Yeah, the best restaurants that serve like the gopjang innards, the small and large intestines and whatnot.
Wait, I found the gopjang. So the gopjang is part of the intestines, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. It looks kind of like what these crisps we have in the UK called hula hoops, which are like these potato rings.
I know what you're talking about.
But it doesn't taste anything like that at all. The gopjang I'm less of a fan of than the yang, which is part of the stomach, which is much more meaty. This is really like that kind of thin, almost epithelium layer. I'll give it a try with that. See, quite chewy.
Yeah,
but it takes on the flavour of the soup. And the soup, like towards the bottom as well, I scooped up some during the song break. It's quite peppery, so there's a bit of a kick to it. I like it.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of white pepper, a little black pepper as well. But this is pretty simple, honestly.
If you want to make it, right?
If you want to make it, I mean, basically you need a nice little beef stock, okay?
Right.
And beef stock here is done with the radishes, the beef bones, maybe... definitely some some leeks.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in here, which gives it a bit of a crunch. So you don't put that in at the very start, right?
That's just making your base. Your
broth. I see. Okay,
yeah.
And this is the garnish at the end, right?
Right.
That keeps it crunchy.
Yeah, the green tops of the leeks that goes there at the end. And usually, a little bit of, spicy pepper powder will go in here, but not too much. Often, definitely the black pepper, the white pepper. And then you've got your innards, and they're cut into small pieces, the different kinds. And you just drop them in and bring them to a boil. It doesn't really take that long. The textures are pretty nice.
Yeah. You don't have to cook them. You don't have to boil those for ages to make the stock.
No, you really don't. You really don't. I mean, you can see some of these just really tender, kind of fatty.
Is that the key then? Cooking them for not too long. If you cook them for too long, do they get more chewy?
No, actually, no. You could cook them forever, and they're going to be about the same. They might start to fall apart.
Okay, but so you don't need to be a great chef to do these.
It's really a lot of fat. Beef tongue, Mexican tacos. Beef tongue is 70% fat.
Your tongue is that fatty?
Tongue
really?
is 70% fat, and it is really chewy, and you have to cook it for a very long time, but then it's amazing.
Really?
It's really awesome.
Because fat tastes delicious. That's why you like
That's it.
gotdungshim,
Or
like the
foie
marble.
gras, you know? I mean, it's just all fat.
That is true. I would have thought the tongue, you know, you feel your own tongue. It feels like just one giant muscle.
Oh, it is.
But there's a lot of fat in there.
Tons of fat in beef tongue, anyway.
Oh, I didn't know.
70%.
And then you've got your soup, and that's it. Voila. As long as you can get the fresh innards from somewhere. I think in the UK as well, if you go to a good local butcher, they can do it for you, right? It's not a common thing in the West, but they can get it for you, right?
Right, and with like honeycomb, try different parts of or different kinds of beef stomach, because a cow has those 4 stomachs, right?
Yeah.
You can get those. You just have to really, if you do get them, you have to really scrub them. The first time I made menudo, I was scrubbing away, made my soup, and still there was like a little bit of sand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
in the stomach.
In the stomach. So you just be sure and really, really scrub them out. And then, parts like that, bigger pieces like that, you do have to cook them for a while to get them to soften up a little.
Okie dokie. And even in Korea, though, it's got to be said, getting these inner parts, it's not that easy to find these in the supermarket or somewhere like that, right? You have to go to the markets or know a guy at the market, right?
Right. It's kind of hidden at the big market here. You have to go down in the basement and ask them there. But
yeah, it's like a secret little club or something. Yeah. And then one thing that we didn't mention, the side dish here, the Radish Kimchi, the gaktogi, one of my favorites. That always seems to come out with the haejangguks, no matter which one you get, the bya haejanguk. It's such a like fresh, crisp cut through this soup.
One's really good too.
I love gaktogi as well. I haven't eaten it yet, but I will eat it a bit later. We got a couple of messages to read out now. Roz from the US says, I have to wonder if the hangover soup remedy is more about the hydration of the soup than anything else. I usually encourage drinking a healthy amount of water, but the soup is maybe a better option for keeping the tummy settled. Now that I think of it, maybe that's why many people offer coffee as hydration as well. I guess the big part of being hungover is your body does get dehydrated, right? So soup is only going to help that as well.
Sure. For me, it's the heat. Having something really hot.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of people talk about here, having the hot ramen or the hot haejanguk.
Yeah.
And somehow it just gets you back to life.
Yeah, because you do have that almost intense sweat in the restaurant. And they have these boxes of little cheap tissues there, right? And many people are like going through, wiping off the sweat. And then afterwards, you do feel like refreshed after you've sweat it out, right?
Oh, big time.
It can feel a bit uncomfortable the first time, but
have you ever tried the Chinese version of like a haejanguk?
No, what's that?
Malatang?
No.
Oh, man, it's got a lot of that Szechuan pepper in there.
So real spice to it.
I took some of my students to go check it out one day because they'd never heard of it and are nervous about going into some of these Chinese restaurants where nobody speaks any Korean.
Sure.
And they were sweating and crying, but they loved it.
Yeah, I think that spiciness, it can kind of reset your system somehow,
Absolutely.
Right? It's amazing like that. Annie from Singapore says, hello, Chef Ryan. The soup looks good. I am a soup person, so this looks like something I would like. I have taken soup with pig naejang, but not with beef naejang. But after seeing Peter trying it and enjoying it, I want to try it too. Yeah, you don't find this soup with pig innards, right?
No, those all go to the restaurants to be grilled. Really,
as like some kind of intestine dish or something like that, right? It is interesting. And then one last one here from Siska in Indonesia. Okay. Thank you for the video, Ryan, she says, by the way, for her birthday. She watched it last night.
Happy birthday. I saw your post this morning. I'm so glad you had a great birthday.
And he says, I haven't tried hangover soup yet, Siska says. We don't really have this kind of soup here in Indonesia, I think. Is it okay to eat soup when we're not hungover? Because it looks so good. Absolutely, Siska.
Absolutely.
Like, I know the way it's marketed, it will sometimes say haejanguk, and you think, wait, I'm not hungover, but it's totally fine here in Korea to have it for a lunch dish, especially with colleagues. I absolutely enjoy it to the maximum. So we've been talking all about hangover soup today, and you can find this video in a few days. It's going to be uploaded onto YouTube. Just type in Arirang Radio and Yes Chef or #DailyK, and you'll be able to check us out there. For anyone watching on YouTube now, you can tune into our show every single day of the week, #DailyK, keeping you up to date with the latest news from Korea and trends from 9 a.m. KST. Okie dokie. Now on to... Oh, we've just got one other message here from Will from Canada. I'll read for you, Chef Ryan. Good morning, Chef. When I make soups, I tend to make a bigger batch and freeze a lot for later meals. When using these innards, would it freeze well? Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't think it's common to do so, right?
I think so. I think they would freeze fine. Yeah, because of the fat content. It's not like with meats where when you freeze something, the crystallizing from the ice, it'll break the cell walls, and then all the water comes out.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't want to use like frozen chicken breast ever.
Sure. Brian's quite adamant about that, aren't you?
Yeah. But with these, because of the fat content, if you ever frozen fat, it doesn't really freeze.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure,
it's more of like an oil than it is a moisture. So yeah, I really think that it would freeze just fine.
So I think you'll be all right, because he says going to the Asian market, it's quite hard in Canada to know whether it's fresh or not, the innards. Maybe if it's frozen in that case, it won't be too bad, right?
I have seen makja, one of the beef intestines, from my butcher, imported from the States, frozen, and I was like, wow, really? I bought it, grilled it. Amazing.
Seriously?
So that is one time that I have had frozen the makjang, the large beef intestine.
Nice.
Sounds crazy to some people, I know. Don't knock it till you try it. It's really good. It's really good.
Absolutely. And I heard that if you dislike it the first time, just keep trying it every day for 2 weeks, someone told me recently, and you'll like anything almost. If you get used to it. Or you might not hate it, at least, right? Will also says, in terms of cleaning them then, Ryan, how exactly should you do it? So you say wash them in water and give them a scrub. With what? Like a kind of brush or something?
Yeah, actually, especially if you're dealing with like honeycomb tripe or the one we were talking about earlier, like the shag carpeting, because there's so much surface area and it's down in there. You really just got to get that really, really clean.
With like a clean brush or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just, under cold water, you can also take salt and kind of rub it with salt, because then you have a little bit of an abrasive there to like when people are cleaning squid here.
Or exfoliating your face.
There you go.
Have some of the granules in there. Well, give it a try and let us know how it turns out in Canada. We've got a couple of what's in your fridge to get through now, Ryan. Who are we going to start with?
We do. Audrey has an awesome fridge here. This is cool. I've got pork, scallops, leeks, potatoes, turnips, parsnips, sweet pepper, portobello mushrooms, pomegranate, mango, grapes, lime, fresh tagliatelle, eggs, single cream, Parmesan Reggiano, a bunch of herbs.
Wow.
This is awesome. Okay, so for the season, right? Here we go. It's time for these nice soups. We always do
hearty, warm ones.
Yeah, we always do. This time of year, where the students will do like the simple potato leek soup, just for the new students, so they can learn how to do some basics there.
The kind of creamy one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got these parsnips, you've got the potatoes, you've got the turnip. The leeks are really important here too. You want to start with the butter and the leeks and maybe a little bit of garlic and saute it, but don't let it get brown. Let it just kind of get that sweetness out and sweat and get really nice and soft.
You say that often, Ryan, right? Don't let it get brown when you're doing like a soup or something.
Totally different flavor when you brown them, when you caramelize them.
And it doesn't taste so good in a soup like that.
Well, it's gonna add a whole other element. If you want to have the flavor of the parsnips, the turnips, and the potatoes all in there, and have it be just this heartwarming, soothing thing, then I think the delicate flavor of just the sweetness from the leeks and the depth there is really good.
So you just want to sweat them out on a low heat, right? And make sure you watch them,
right?
And just turn them over,
right? Keep them moving, low heat, patience, enjoy it. Just keep moving around. Heavy bottom pan really helps too. But then, get your vegetables, the root vegetables in there as well, and you can add on a little bit of water and let them soften. Cut them into sizes. Say the turnips often really hard, but they can get soft pretty quick. Potatoes, sometimes they take a long time. Other potatoes take a short time. But try to cut them into sizes to where you think they'll be done at the same time.
Okay, yeah. Because otherwise it's too complicated with all the different ingredients getting ready.
You don't want some of them to be way overcooked because they'll take on a whole lot of water. You want to try to have some consistency. So you get all those in there. If you've got a hand mixer, you can do that. If you've got a food processor, you transfer it back into that. Then put it back in your pot with the cream, and then go in your herbs. Save the fresh chives for the end, but a little bit of the rosemary and thyme can go in anytime. earlier on, but those fresh chives, that flavor will dissipate really quickly in the heat. So, while you're still simmering it and letting the rosemary and the thyme flavor come out, right when you're about finished, then chop up those fresh chives and mix those in. And I think you'll be really happy with a nice, if you wanted to, too, man, you could sear the scallops and just drop them right on top, too. That would be pretty awesome.
Oh, with the soup, that would be amazing, And Audrey, you're from France. I would love that with a baguette and a bit of butter on the baguette.
Yeah,
and
you
then
gotta
dip
have
it in there.
bread with your soup, always,
So good, Audrey. I envy you living there. Let us know how that turns out.
Very cool.
We got another fridge from Roz in the US.
We do. Carved ham, wild mushroom brie.
Ooh, what? Oh, so it's got the mushrooms in the cheese.
I want some wild mushroom brie. Broccoli, pickled okra, last year's harvest. That's so awesome. I'm trying to pickle okra these days. My harvest is coming soon.
Wow.
Bacon, ground pork sausage, eggs, beef broth, blackberries, cabbage, and apples. Boy, oh boy, I got to do something with this wild mushroom brie. Goodness gracious.
You had some good cheese last week as well, didn't you? What was that? Your favourite one from France? I forget the name.
Pont-l'Evêque.
There we go.
Oh, Pont-l'Evêque.
You're drooling in the studio.
Oh, man. Goodness. Okay. You know what I'm kind of thinking here?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of...
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
No.
Of what?
No, the French onion soup.
Oh yes, the really rich French onion soup with the cheese on top. Yeah. It's so rich, but it's good. Yeah. Just one bowl, not a big bowl. Yeah.
We're talking about. I got soup on the brain. We got this soup. We're talking, but yeah, you could. I think that wild mushroom brie on top. Instead, it's not usually brie, but
no.
But you could take your beef broth. I don't see onions on here, but everybody's got onions.
Exactly.
And you just caramelize those onions down for like 30 minutes
in the pan.
In butter, and just let them just keep sweating, and they're just gonna. You'll have like a mountain of onions, and they cook down to just this little amount.
Oh, really?
And it's so incredibly good. Get your beef broth on there. Get a little bit of bread and toast it up. Put that on top like a little island, and get that wild mushroom brie all over the top. Put it under the broiler, let that all melt down.
Oh, and the bread soaks it all up, right? Yeah, it's so good. It's so rich, but it's amazing. The first time I had it, I was blown away by the tensity of the flavor in your mouth. It's a brilliant dish.
I was a kid, and my dad somehow knew that I was going to love that. He's like, you got to try this. And I was like, cheese on bread on a soup? Oh, man.
Sounds delicious. Roz, give that a try. Yeah. I would love to try all the soups we've been talking about. In Korea, it's not as common to have those kind of creamy soups or anything like that.
Right.
Unless the solongtang, but that's not with cream. That's just the bones boiled down.
Yeah, dairy is not. It's still not really. But that's changing really fast. We were talking last week about the cheese and the pumpkin kind of thing,
Yeah.
And you're seeing a lot more cheeses being made here in Korea. It's pretty awesome.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Thank you so much for those delicious, delicious recipes. We got a couple more messages to read out. I'll do that while you're here, Ryan, because, everyone likes to have you here. Tina Tulip from the US says, thank you for playing my song request earlier, U-Kiss's Giburijima. I love that song. Their Mangne member, Jun, is participating in the unit, and I hope people see his talent and support him and U-Kiss. Yes, indeedy. We've got Ryan still munching away over there with your head. Did you go for a drink last night?
No, sir.
No, but you're still loving it, aren't you?
But Halloween was a little heavy, and then Sunday.
Recovering on a Sunday. Oh, Ryan, while you're here, can I ask you, we're doing this thing for our hashtag today, which is word or Tano. We're asking people to come up with 3 words to describe their neighborhood. So, like, I came up with mountain, high, and cars, because my house is opposite a mountain. It's quite high on the 18th floor, and there's lots of cars on the road below. So for where you live, what 3 words would you use to describe it?
Old, new, and changing.
Old, new, and changing. That applies to a lot of Seoul and other parts of Korea, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
I love it,
so.
though.
But when I moved into my apartment, I had fields in front of me. I had rice around. I could hear frogs.
Wow.
I miss that because now it's just full of villas, and giant apartment buildings have encroached just all around. So.
Wow. In how many years is that?
6.
Really? It's changed
for the first
completely.
2 or 3, Canella, my dog, could run out in the fields.
Wow.
Now there's so many people around. Yeah. They've been yelling at me about my dog.
Oh, no. That's a shame, isn't it?
She's such a nice dog. But she's a big dog, so she's frightening.
you don't live in Seoul, right? You live out in Suwon area.
Suwon, yeah, where all the Samsung stuff is and everything.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of the suburbs now are being more and more built up around Seoul because there's more and more people coming and they can't afford properties in Seoul, so they're living in these satellite cities. You're right, it's getting so built up in so many places.
Man, you can really tell how out there, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it still felt a little bit like country community kind of style. But now so many people have moved in that are from all over different places.
Sure.
And so it has changed. It's become more like Seoul.
Yeah,
basically.
more like just another city right out there. Thank you, Ryan, for playing along with our hashtag as well and for bringing in this delicious soup. I'm going to finish it off in this song break. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Peter.
Okie dokie. This is Dynamic Duos, Gotjem or Jam.
Yeah, kick back.